The MacBook Neo, you've seen all the headlines. There's not much that I can add to what's being said. This is one of the best Apple products Apple has put out in a long time, both for their sake and for our sake. The amount of power in this base entry level laptop is just insane. I feel like it's easy to say that we kind of saw it coming. I mean, think about how powerful the iPhones have gotten. Think about how much they held macOS from iPad. They still wanted this division where you can have a device that runs macOS and something like the iPad that may even be more expensive than a full-on computer, but still runs iPad OS. I just don't know. I think products like this make it harder for me, for anyone to justify buying the latest and greatest MacBook Pro. I think we're going to see sales drop for the mid and upper range devices just because like this is enough for people. Now I say that, but people still buy the Pro model phones even if they don't necessarily need them. So there's that to consider. The big thing here is people that have never been able to afford a MacBook before or have been scared that if they were to buy the entry-level MacBook, it wouldn't be powerful enough for what they need it to be. This is like answering both those things in a major way. I personally, as you know, my job, content creation, running a business, switched to this fully. For about a week. I used it as my editing device. I used it as my emailing, my graphic design, all that kind of stuff. Just normal day-to-day work. And it easily replaced my Mac Mini. It easily replaced my MacBook Air. Now, I will say those two things kind of gave a hint as to what you can expect me to be using this for. I have a Mac Mini and a MacBook Air. I don't have a Mac Studio and a MacBook Pro beefed out. But that's kind of the point too, is those devices do way more than you would expect them to as well. But as always on this channel, I want to dive into the form and function of this device. Form being probably my favorite thing about it. The corners here are more rounded than the MacBook Air. Let me show you what I mean. Now, I haven't seen many people point this out, but here's the MacBook Air. You can see how like sharp this edge is. It's not as rounded as, you can see that the Neo is a slight bit thicker, but it has these more rounded edges and it just feels nice. It feels like a category of its own in a way. It's smaller than the MacBook Air in terms of like length and height. You know, I had to go with silver just because I'm sort of a minimalist and I don't love super pops of color. The only pops of color I really like are like some, you know, earthy tones or greens. So this was it for me and it always will be. I've made the mistake in the past of buying something flashy because it looked cool, but then it didn't fit with anything around me. So silver's the way to go in my opinion. The trackpad is a physical trackpad. So no longer that haptic feedback that you get in the more premium versions of Mac, but I honestly don't mind. Most of the time I do all my clicking with just tapping anyway. I turn that setting on. So I'm double tapping like this, I'm tapping like this. Speakers, tinny, but fine. I honestly enjoyed not having a notch on this device, and you can see kind of how big the bezels are there. So here you can kind of see the differences in bezel size between the Air and the Neo. And then there's no notch, which I kind of like about the Neo. I didn't mind the bezels, got used to them immediately. Real estate is pretty much the same. It's a little bit smaller of a screen because the bezels are larger and the form factor is a bit smaller, but the keyboard, perfect. I mean, it's what's in the Pro. In terms of like form here, I also love this not mirrored Apple logo. You can see this one has the mirrored Apple logo, which I think looks nice, looks a little bit more premium, but I honestly really like the way this looks, just the matte finish Apple logo. It's subtle, I think it looks sweet. I love the little feet on here even more than I do on the MacBook Air. They're a little more flat on there. These are a little more rounded. I think they look a little bit better. And the color matching they did on the other colors is also fantastic. I love they came out with the pink for people. That citrus is wild. I think for college students, everyone like that. Like they just nailed it here. The hinge feels incredible. This in no way feels when you're using it like there were shortcuts or corners that were cut. Like it is a premium Apple product at an amazing price point. Moving on to functionality, I'm kind of been hitting on it this whole video. Like it's capable. I edited videos on here. I worked in Canva. I sent emails. I did some video calls on here. Like it handled all of my day-to-day work. In fact, I really contemplated keeping this, but I already have this paid off MacBook Air from last year, so I really don't have a need. I think one of the biggest things here was I usually work on a Mac Mini with an Apple Studio display. It's right here in front of me. You can plug this into an Apple Studio display no problem. In fact, this works in clamshell mode, which is something that really sets it apart from iPad, in my opinion. You can't do clamshell mode. That means when you plug it in, it's connected to a monitor, then you can close the laptop, put it over to the side, as long as it's still plugged in, and still use the computer with like, you know, an external keyboard and mouse. So you can do like a one screen setup here. With an iPad, you can't close it. It has to remain open, so you have to have the two screen thing going on. But it's nice that you can close this and move it out of the way, so you have more desk space and just use your big monitor. I really enjoyed using it that way. The only thing was, unless you're doing 1080p, at least on this monitor, or like 5K, in between there with the resolution, it's like blurry. So 1080p is clear, but everything's really big on your screen. 5K is clear, but everything's really small on your screen. So you have a lot more landscape, but you're squinting to see tab names and things like that. 1080p is almost too big. So in between that, it's the right size for everything, but everything's blurry. It's like they weren't able to get that resolution scaled correctly in between there. So that was a little weird. I ended up just using 1080p, and honestly, I got used to it, and I'm using it right now, which I feel embarrassed to say that, but that's a silly side note. I digress. The cool part here is you can use an external monitor just like I would on my Mac Mini, and you can do clamshell mode. Honestly, if you need a new MacBook and you're just gonna be doing normal day-to-day tasks, admin work, emailing, texting, maybe watching YouTube videos, maybe doing schoolwork, things like that, I don't know why you would get anything more than this. I mean, this has been the big thing. This phone costs what, $1,100, $1,200 if you beef it up a little bit. You can buy a MacBook Neo, and I don't have it with me now, but you can also buy the iPhone 17e phone for the same price as just this phone. Both of these devices are capable. You get a full laptop experience with macOS. You get a phone that runs really well. Everything that I normally do on here, I can do on there. If you haven't watched that video yet, I'll link it up here. If it's not out yet, I'll link it up here. But Apple is one of the companies that's the epitome of form and function. And I just don't have much more to say. This is an amazing device. I know I'm bandwagoning here and saying what everyone else is saying out there, but like, truly and honestly, this thing is disruptive. It's disrupting the market. It's so incredible what Apple has done at this price point. But that's gonna do it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. On this channel, we help you discover intentionally designed and well-made products to help you build a calmer, more focused life. We love tech that marries form and function. So if that sounds cool to you, please like this video. Subscribe if you're new. Hype this video up. Watch this video next. I think you're gonna love it. And we'll see you all in the next one.